Live Combat. My name is Gardy. I have a guest that's zooming in. I'm gonna let him introduce himself, and we're gonna find out everything that he has going on. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, how is everyone? I'm Lucas Rosa. 9-0 amateur MMA fighter right now. So,
All right. So where you at? Where you live?
right now I live in Boca, but Boca Raton, Florida. That's where I've been fighting out of the past 2 years. I've lived and breathed fighting down here. So, but originally I'm from New England. That's kind of really where I associate myself from, is like the Boston area, New Hampshire, that kind of thing.
How long have you been down there in Florida?
So I moved down here about 2 years ago. uh, I knew that my goal was to become an MMA fighter, and I started fighting about a year after that. So I started fighting actually in last March, and so since then I've had a pretty good journey so far.
Yeah. What was your introduction to martial arts? Was there any other training that you did before saying I'm gonna start competing in MMA?
Yeah, I mean, so I kind of always knew I wanted to be a fighter. I have an identical twin, so when we were little, we used to like rough around the house, playing Godzilla and stuff. And I had older brothers and a big Italian Irish family. Um, but I did wrestling in high school, self defense, jujitsu when I was younger, and wrestling. I was the first two-time captain of my high school team ever, and uh, ended up winning a state title there too. So that was pretty good. And then I did, rugby in college. Was a three-time Holland to study Dutch kickboxing, and I mean, I'd say it was a big culture shock initially. I was in like Angkor Wat and stuff in Cambodia, the Siem Reap area. Um, and that was just very different. I would like bicycle down dirt roads and like almost get attacked by like stray dogs and stuff. Uh, so that was different. But I'd say one of my favorite areas was this place called Friesland. It's this place up north in Holland, and they kind of don't even associate themselves with the rest of the Netherlands because they're kind of their own little thing. Um, and that place honestly looks and feels like a fairy tale world. There's just cobblestones everywhere, and everyone's so polite. And everyone thought I was Dutch because I looked Dutch, but I couldn't speak the language. So
Yeah. I'm looking at your Instagram, and if you want to follow, it's Lucas underscore Rosa Nation on Instagram. But it says you studied philosophy, writing, and journalism. So what
yeah.
what did you go to school for?
So I actually went to college for I double majored in creative writing and philosophy, uh, and journalism too. I just always had a passion for that. I was the editor in chief of my college newspaper, the Wheaton Wire, and then I was also editor in chief of my high school newspaper before that, which won like a ton of awards. I think we won best newspaper in New England while I was like co-editor in chief at the time. So that's just like writing has always been something that's a huge part of my life. I actually even published sort of a children's book when I was younger with my twin brother on like cryptids, which are like myths and things that like Bigfoot, Sasquatch, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So writing has just been a huge part of my life, and as well as philosophy was kind of what I found out that I like to write about, and that's kind of like studying more abstract topics like metaphysics and death and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Being the captain of the wrestling team two times, winning state, but then also working on the journalism side, was that normal?
Um, Not really, and I mean that's part of also why I ended up wanting to later do that Watson scholarship, and even being like a rugby player where everyone thinks you're just this like partying,
Yeah.
uh, like extrovert, which is not me at all. And then like also having this vested interest in all these intellectual and academic things. I think people sometimes fail to realize like that my athletic and academic sides are very consistent. I think that's something that like a lot of people sort of deal with, is they kind of try to um, not stereotype, but sort of pigeonhole you into one thing. And to me, it's all very consistent because it's all about growth of knowledge.
Yeah. Does the academics and the philosophy side, does it give you an edge in any way in fighting that you found?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think to me, the only reason I'm a good fighter is because of my mental like aptitude with it. The attitude that I have. I mean, I've always had, I've always been like, prided myself in my heart, my conditioning, and that's something I think that I kind of taught. But when I found martial arts, to me, it represented all the kind of virtues that I wanted to have, but in like a physical form. Like it required courage, it required like determination, and one of the things I think it really requires is like desire and a pursuit of knowledge. And one of the things that I think martial arts is so cool about over other sports is that there's just so much to learn constantly. It's not like you're just one player, like a linebacker in football, where like you have to just kind of learn one thing and you get good at it. Like there's so many things to get good at in martial arts, so many styles, so many cultures you can learn from, different martial arts styles and techniques from. So yeah, the hunger for knowledge and the kind of way I view the world abstractly and conceptually really helps me a lot, even like on a day-to-day level, looking at, techniques.
Yeah, going abroad and studying fighting and I guess philosophy as well, how did that benefit you as a fighter and as a person?
I think it helped me grow a lot. One thing I kind of had trouble with, I think, is like I had a lot of bad stuff happen to me when I was younger, and I think it causes you to sort of not really want to be vulnerable, like, to the world. And to me, fighting was always that thing that like allowed me, or martial arts was that thing that allowed me to be vulnerable. And um, I found that that sort of passion is something that a lot of other people have, and it's something that kind of translates to all these different cultures. And so, yeah, I mean, I'd say the Watson specifically, I think, gave me a really good formal foundation for striking. I hadn't really experienced something like that before, and so there's that. And the other aspect of it too is I think it really gave me motivation to get really good at this, because there's things like Bokatao that I think, like, ancient martial arts nobody's ever heard of, that I kind of want to be that representative for, just to like give back to martial arts that aren't as well known anymore.
You mentioned having siblings and specifically a twin. Is does anybody else in your family do mixed martial arts or any other sports?
Yeah, so obviously, my older brother is Charles Rosa. So Charles Boston Strong Rosa. He's the UFC fighter in the featherweight division, and he's a beast. Has a huge fan base, and I think is probably, like, the UFC, I think, considers him one of the most exciting, and like uh, uh, one of the fighters with the most heart and stuff. So you'll never see him get like submitted or really knocked out or anything like that. So he's always working, and I think he, even just his last fight, he took a fight on a few days' notice, and yeah. So I have that, and then my dad was always a big fighter. My dad, Chucky Rosa, um, he's crazy. He jumps in the ocean every single day in New England. He teaches kids boxing and that sort of thing. I also have an uncle, Tom the Bomb Rosa, who's a boxer, and yeah, he's just, my grandfather was actually, I think, a Navy champion boxer. So, my passion is more of like jujitsu and that kind of thing, grappling. But yeah, my family's always been like very much fighter family, and
Was
yeah.
it almost a requirement? Like you're going to
No,
do wrestling, or hey, we're going to put you in these jujitsu or stuff like that.
yeah, no, not really. Like my twin right now, he doesn't really care for mixed martial arts, so he doesn't do it. But to me, it was like never something my family really pushed me towards. They just pushed me to be active. And like my dad would always say, just give your 100% in whatever you do, never give up. And that's kind of what I took into it. And like I said, like, I think the reason why, some of my family members are so drawn to it is because it sort of exemplifies, I think, a lot of those virtues that we find meaningful, like having heart and, using your mind in like a creative way that's physical. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned getting into MMA. I think you said, was it 2 years ago?
Yeah. So I came down here with the intent to like make sure I became a fighter, 2 years ago, but I didn't actually start fighting until March, um, of last year. So I've only been really fighting for like 10 months technically, or
Yeah.
11 months.
And you said you're 9-0 as an amateur.
Yeah, I'm 9-0. I mean, I have four MMA wins and five kickboxing wins. I won a kickboxing tournament as well. Yeah, so it's been going really well so far.
Yeah, that's amazing. As far as making that switch to a professional MMA debut, what does that look like?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I kind of let my like coaches and stuff take care of that. I know they're, building me the right way. Right now I've been fighting a lot for this promotion, Rise FC, um, based in here in Florida, and just been, killing it. I try to go into every fight just like, with the mentality that my opponent's trying to take something away from me. So I think in terms of that, I have the mentality down. Uh, I just I just know I need to pick up a few more skills. But one of the things I really like is I try to fight as often as possible. I mean, like I said, I only started fighting 11 months ago and already have racked up like a lot of fights and a lot of wins. And because I what I've found is that like that experience in the cage, actually in the octagon, can be as valuable as like a few months of training, just because you figure out like what works, what doesn't work, how things feel, just how you deal with the adrenaline, and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, earlier you mentioned that you were moving to Florida with the intention to, hey, I need to do this to pursue my MMA career.
Yeah.
Why Florida and away from New England or family, or why'd you end up there?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is just after the Watson, I kind of tried to make it work in New England a little bit. It was all right. I just felt I needed to kind of become a little more independent. Like I love my parents, but living with your parents is always a little contentious. And the other part of it too is I think like I love New England. I love the atmosphere honestly more than I even like Florida. Um, but there is a certain aspect of like I would have to travel to one gym to do a certain skill and another gym to do a certain skill, and like nobody was really taking me under their wing.
Yeah.
So once I came here to Florida, my brother's coach, Charles McCarthy, who had known me my entire life, Charles McCarthy, former UFC vet, um, he really liked his first day. He kind of brought me in and like he took me in front of the class and literally said, "Hey guys, I want to get him really good really quickly. So please all like help share your knowledge with him." And I never really had like an MMA coach at least do that, something like that. And I knew from that point on, he really took like a vested interest in me. And obviously, my brother Charles was down here as well, and he really, really wanted me to succeed and do well. And so he helped me a lot when I came down here and set things up.
So what's the name of that gym, and can you describe the culture of it a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. So originally it was Boca MMA, but it turned into something so much greater. It's become American Combat Gym, and we actually just opened a new headquarters. I think maybe like four months ago or something, maybe 5 months ago. And uh, the thing I like about the environment is how welcoming it is. It's welcoming to like all different levels. We have people that are just beginners. We have kids classes, and on top of that, it's just we'll have like even UFC fighters and that kind of thing. But the thing that I find that it has over other gyms is there's not really like an ego thing. There's just such a good environment. Like you feel it when you go in there. You feel everyone's willing to help you. Everyone's willing to learn. And we think in a very strategic way too. Like, you know, we teach jujitsu in a way that's going to be violent in the cage, but is smart.
Being a part of a wrestling team in high school, playing, sports, and then traveling abroad, um, is that culture, I guess, normal at the gym that you found there in Florida? Do you see that in other places? Is it just different and depend?
Um, yeah, I mean, I'd say that like a lot of fighters, I'd say I'm probably pretty unique for as it goes for fighters. But if you're talking about the culture, I mean, yeah, I'd say that kind of like really open and friendly environment that just has a willingness to share from like top level down is, I'd say, pretty unique. Sometimes I think because of just how just how the personalities that you need to be MMA fighters, you typically have a lot of drama and conflict and that kind of thing, and I don't really find that happens a lot in American Combat Gym.
Yeah. I mean, whenever you sit down and have a conversation with people in your gym or any other gym and they're into MMA, is it is it easy for you, or is it easy for you to relate, or a lot of your friends maybe don't even compete, or on a different level or something?
Yeah, I mean it's tough. it's sometimes tough for me to relate. Just I'm pretty much an introvert, so I don't love to talk to people. So but I haven't gotten a lot better. I mean, my teammates, I love, like, the journey we've had with them. I was like me, my, my buddy LJ, who's also a very, very good amateur fighter, is a champion of Rise FC right now. And my brother Charles and Charles McCarthy were pretty much the like small group that started American Combat Gym. Initially started as like Boca MMA or something, and kind of grew into this thing that's helping so many people. So I'm really proud to be a part of that. And so that's one thing that I think, like, I've been there so long and been such a part of it that it's like I feel very comfortable walking in there and talking to everyone, and being sort of an ambassador for the gym, I guess. But when it comes time to like talk about more of the intellectual side of martial arts, I'd say there are like some people who there's a lot more like intellectual fighters I'd find at this gym than you would find at, like, I'd say a lot of other gyms. But people, I think there's different ways to win fights and be a fighter, and not everyone is needs to be like super thoughtful about it, I guess.
What's your favorite way to win a fight if you had the choice?
My favorite way, I would say first round submission. I haven't gotten the submission that I want yet, though. There's a few ones that I really want. Because in my mind, like, when I think about, okay, a fight, like, what is a fight really? It means, like, if there was if we were the last two people in a room and there was a piece of steak, like, who would get it?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I think about it, and so I think in my head, I kind of I find the submission means like you defeated the person, like if that was a fight in real life, they'd be done. I kind of want, like, a person that I want to get like some kind of proving necktie or something like that. That's something I hit in the gym a lot. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. I've gotten my past few fights have been first round submissions, so I'm kind of happy about that. They've been within the first minute. I got a head and arm choke my last or 2 fights ago against a really tall, like, built opponent, and then my last fight I got a modified rear naked, a short choke. So
have all your fights been for Rise FC, and what's it like competing for them?
Most of my fights have been for Rise. There was just some of my kickboxing stuff. I went to a tournament, so that's kind of where that's been. But I'd say all my MMA fights, a lot of my kickboxing fights have been for Rise, and they've been awesome. I think they really know how to, like, not only like build the hype for it, but I think they're just like such a good base here in Florida. I think it's amazing to, like, have the support not only from a team but from a promotion. Like, sometimes I think promotions can be a little, like, you can be a little wary of promotions and promoters, but they've been really just like very honest, thoughtful people. Like, you see some of the people there, like Armando and David Shore, one of the announcers. I think he's great. So
Yeah. What's the MMA scene like, or the jiu-jitsu scene? One of my friends out of Houston, he just went over there and held a grappling tournament, combat sports coverage. Is
Oh, yeah.
is MMA really big, in Florida?
Well, yeah. So that's even one of the reasons why I did drive down, is like Florida, South Florida in particular, is a mecca when it comes to, like, MMA. The MMA scene that's developing down there. I'd say, like, we have some of the best jiu-jitsu literally in the world down in South Florida. I mean, I'd say really some of the biggest spots in America are like South Florida and California, and are a few random spots in, like, New Mexico and maybe up in Boston, some Milwaukee, some of those spots. But, like, I'd say South Florida and California are the 2 spots that, like, if you want to be an MMA fighter, if you want to have a real, like, structure in place, that's the place you go. That's just where you go to be an MMA fighter, and so that's why I did it.
Cool. Okay, I'm going to ask you this question, and I don't know enough about philosophy, and I'm going to have to look up some people after I get this answer from you. But whenever it comes to MMA, who are some people that you look up to in the philosophy world, whether that's their mindset or anything that it relates?
Yeah. So one thing that I mean, there's a lot of different philosophy I could get into. One philosopher I think a lot about is Albert Camus, who it's sort of like existentialism. That kind of stuff I like. Just the idea, I guess, like a lot of that has to do with like, at the end of the day, we're kind of our own. Um, they talk about it like we're our own gods in a sense, and really, it's a weird thing to say, but it more just means that like we are, we garner our own meaning in life, and like we are the ones who create our meaning, and that's a big responsibility, but it's one that we all are, given and have radical freedom to do. Um, that's sort of more philosophy content. But then there's also, I do like a lot of the ancient Greek philosophy. One of the things I take most into me with MMA is a concept called Socratic Wisdom. And basically, they're one of the first philosophers ever. This guy, Socrates, he went to the Oracle of Delphi, which is this like fortune teller in Greece. And the Oracle of Delphi told him none is wiser than Socrates. And he didn't understand like how this could possibly be, because he didn't think he was that smart of a guy. So he went up to all the smartest people and would ask them like questions to try to figure out like, how can I be wiser than these other people? And it ended up that he found that they assumed a lot of things that he didn't. He would always, play dumb and that sort of thing. And so when it comes to Socratic wisdom, it's sort of the idea that you know what you don't know. And I take that sort of personally into my training, because I always try to be like a seeker of knowledge and never assume to know more than someone. Like, even if I think someone, oh, this person does this technique doesn't work for me, or maybe this style isn't great, like I can learn something from anybody, whether it's, a stretch that I can learn, a certain type of jab I can learn. So that's the concept of Socratic wisdom that I try to really take into fighting.
Can you take that into the cage when the door closes?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, I take all my, there's an expression, what is it? Good artists borrow, great artists steal. So I like steal all the techniques that people give me, and I take all that, like all the mentality, all the things they tell me into the cage. And, that's like, I know when fight day comes, I'm ready. Like when the time comes, I'll be ready. And I always know that. And I always know that, I'm gathering and stealing knowledge from all these really, really smart and experienced people. So
whenever your MMA career is done and you've done everything that you wanted to do, what do you see the meaning of your life? What do you want to create as your meaning of life?
As my meaning, well, so one thing I just say is like, for me, I really want to be someone who can bring out the best in other people. And I think a part of what that looks like is being able to show people that, MMA is not just this brawling blood sport. It has a lot more to do with, like your heart and your mind. And I think it's really important for people to understand that, whether it is even just MMA or another passion, that, a lot goes into these kind of sports and these kind of disciplines more than they might understand. And it's kind of that. It's about challenging their presuppositions to what is defined as something that's like brawling or low class, and something that's defined as, a real intellectual pursuit, because that's kind of what I view MMA as. So in terms of MMA, that's what I want my mark to be. And of course, I want to be champion more than anything. I'm so competitive.
Yeah. I guess, would you be ever interested in getting into the journalism side or the commentary side of MMA?
Commentary is interesting. I mean, I listen to a lot of sports radio, so maybe that's something that I would actually be slightly interested in. My brother's a commentator, so that's something I could pursue. I don't honestly like love that idea right now. But yeah, journalism is something that I think if I wasn't doing MMA, I find journalism to be such an interesting job, because you wake up and never know what the next story is going to be. So it's always like a new adventure kind of. So yeah, journalism is something I might consider after, but I really want to write as well, write fiction or something too. So.
Yeah, you said you and your twin brother, y'all wrote a book. What was that book?
Yeah. It's called Cryptidpedia, and you can find it on Etsy. It's basically and it sounds like it's a encyclopedia of cryptids, which is basically like creatures that people claim to have sighted, but they don't know yet. It's like Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster. And I just find a lot of stuff to be fun and silly, and it's kind of written like more for children and that kind of thing. And that's one of the things I take real pride in is we've gone and done presentations on this stuff, and the thing I hear from parents is that this book got my kid to read when they're not a reader and they're not someone who normally reads books. And so that's something I take huge pride in because, getting kids to read is important.
Yeah. Is there plans for another book, or if you were to write the next book, what would it be about?
I don't know yet. I don't know. I'm still thinking about that sort of thing. I mean, one of the things I write a lot of poetry that I just haven't shared, and like prose poems and that kind of stuff, especially from creative writing. And I did from family, from friends,